Unleash your creativity with the Micro Welder, episode 25. Today I'm going to show you how to weld this birthstone ring like this using a hoop and a pearl. If you're like me, you probably have many of these singleton hoops that have lost its buddy along the way. So instead of throwing them out or having to wear asymmetrical if you're not into that, you can actually recycle, upcycle, and I'm going to show you how. In this case, this is a 20 mm hoop that is sterling silver. It's an endless hoop. And the trick is that it fits in perfectly and it is the size of a nice band. So I'm going to show you first off, if it is the case that this is stamped, in this case it has 925, and your bead is kind of small, I'm just going to tap, tap, tap and make it slightly smaller, like this. And then we're going to fit the bead through. In this case, it's a 20 mm hoop, and I just want to show you this. At its largest, before it pops open like this and no longer connects, it is 7.5. So I'd say 7. And then that's the maximum size it can go to. And if you push this farther or cut this off, the smallest it can, what you should do is you should always try to push it to the farthest end and see how small it can be. So it looks like 4.5 is the smallest that this can go to. And you can also cut this off a bit. And if you want it even smaller, you're going to have to cut this off. But a 20 mm hoop with the average pin size, and it also depends on the maker of your hoops, whether it can be a lot bigger or smaller. So here we go. This I am fitting, I'm a size 7. And what I want to do is to have a pearl in there. This is very easy. So what I do is I put this in like this. Make sure that's what I meant by pushing it, pressing down the bottom, making sure that this part here, this tag, is going to be narrow enough, the stamp, so that it can go through easily. So it can, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to fit this back in, figure out where exactly how I want it to fit, and then mark it on the other side. Just to let you know, this is a 5 millimeter pearl. You see how it makes it raised like this, the gap. Make sure that it fits over wherever your knuckle is and that you are comfortable like this. Then take a marker and you want to mark the line. At the beginning, you might want to make sure that it is comfortable like this. Make sure that, and then you might want to mark it again, just so that you know it's going to go over before you take it and weld. Okay, for the ones that are bigger, what you can do is take, but don't cut it down right away. Mark where you want it cut, leave a little extra just in case. And then using sharp cutters, make your mark like this, back and forth. You see? But even better if you have a metal saw. But if you don't, do this. The reason is, eventually, yes, it will get squished, but it will not be completely squished, and then you can prop it up. You see? There's a slight hole, and now you can use something like this to ream it open, or you start, if you got it really small, use a small pin first, and then gradually work so that it's round again. In this case, this has a hinge. So in fact, what you can do is to cut it, you want both sides to look even, is to cut it, weld one side, and then the other. So I've been doing this for a little over a minute, and what I'm going to do now is check it. Okay, so it goes in, and yes, you're going to, it's wonky out of shape, but what you can do is slowly form it over until you figure out the length and the size. You can wrap around like this and keep working at it. And once you get it down to the size, ring size that you want, then you can insert and weld. And if you need to, and you've mismeasured, you can cut it a little bit more. But it is much better to do a little at a time. It doesn't take a whole lot. But basically, what I am going to do now is hang on to this and find where my line is. You see that? Okay. And then I'm going to press down. Basically, I don't want to weld on top here. The two sides must touch. So the hole with this must touch. And what I'm going to do is weld underneath. So first, I'm going to make sure it's there. And then I'm going to push down on this like such. I'm going to push this. So basically, I want the weld to be here. So I'm going to hold on to this, make sure it's lined up, and then I'm going to push against it and have the electrode touch both ends. So I'm holding this tight. I'm holding these. I would suggest that you wrap this with tape to not leave a mark. But what I'm doing is I'm just pushing, and I'm not clamping down. I'm pushing down this way without applying much pressure on the tongs, so that I just hold it still. Okay. And there we have a small tack weld. This melted a little bit onto that, and I'm going to continue on with a little bit more on the inside, and then we'll clean it. Ooh, it's hot. give you a closer look. You see, that has melted into that, and it is secure now. You might want to do it on this side as well, so that I'm basically melting some of this down. I've got it at 7 watts, but I think for this, a little bit less will be fine. By the way, in practice, if you goof up, just keep welding on every single side. It will attach itself, and this is really solid now. Okay, now I'm just going to clean again. By the way, the soot doesn't affect the pearl. I'm not using argon gas because I know not everyone has argon gas, and I want to demonstrate what it will look like without using argon. If you had argon, this would have a lot less oxidation, but that's about it. It is fairly fine, so you don't need it. If it was a lot thicker, then you would want to use argon gas for integrity. But when it's this small, not a whole lot of difference. And now this is what it looks like after I've cleaned it with a bit of soap. And this is what it looks like on. I think I should have made it a little bit bigger. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you did, please like and subscribe. It really does help my algorithm. And let me know in the comments what city you live in and where you're tuning in from.